Perfect. All right. So last episode for now in the execution week, we will go over exercises. So what have we done so far in the couple of weeks? We have gone over our draw liquidity. So how to form a bias, how to get to draw liquidity, high probability conditions versus low probability conditions, etc. when we want to trade. And then we looked at PD rates so that we have a boundary to go into the lower time frame. That is important. And then we look for our entry on the time frame we have established, etc. using your time schedule that you made. And from there on, you have an idea, a sort of idea how you got to a trading plan. Now, again, trading plans, journaling, etc. These things will all come back in the last week, the MMT week. So don't worry if you don't have a full idea on how to get to a trading plan yet. Don't worry, we will discuss full trading plans as well. So next week we have psychology, which will be a very important week as well, where we take a break from sort of the technical side, but the more important side, I would always argue, the psychology side, which is very important. All right, so exercises right here. If you already have an entry model, then only study your entry model and nothing else. If your entry model didn't show up, then don't study how you could have gotten involved. And that is exactly what you see me do in the market breakdowns as well, right? You don't see me looking at random turtle soups that I potentially could have entered on a lower time frame. No, I only look at either a re-entry or an ST entry, right? It's the only thing I'm looking at. So when you have established your entry model, if you want to enter on a re, you want to enter on an ST, etc., then you only want to look for that entry model. You don't want to look at price action where you could have gotten involved, but your entry model didn't happen, so you will force a new entry pattern. That's not what we want to do. So then again, schedule deep work sessions, but only study what's relevant to your trading plan. Now, actually, I had some great questions as well on the deep work sessions, and I think the questions are completely right, that I think I should add on to that more. How can we go over deep work sessions? A deep work session for me is about getting into flow state. That is what we want to do. We want to get into a flow state. Now, the flow state itself, I will have a link to a website as well, and that explains the flow state, how you can get into a flow state. I will show you here, or I will just quickly go over how I plan my deep work sessions. I always plan my deep work sessions based around what I'm currently struggling with. So for example, if my entries, especially in execution week, my entries are not that accurate, I want to go back in price action in hindsight, and I want to practice my entries in hindsight, not backtesting, so all in hindsight. And then what I do, I personally always get prepared. So next to me, I have a timer. I have a timer on my desk. And once I turn that timer, I don't know if you can hear it, probably not. But once I turn that timer and I put on some music, so some light background music, that is a trigger for my brain to focus to go into flow state. And that trigger is what you need to have. And if you practice that often, so you often go into flow state and you try a deep work session, etc., you will notice that during those times, you are very focused on the chart you're studying, and you will see certain things that you didn't see before. And that is exactly what I do for a deep work session. Now, the deep work session, what is it about? It is always about a topic that I want to study. For example, if I want to study some more order flow, then I will set the timer, I will put on some music, and I will study deep work sessions. I will study order flow in my deep work session, and I will make case studies on that as well. Now, I will make a separate video on deep work sessions as well, just so we can get over everything and I can take you with me through a deep work session as well. That will be great. Now, that will be a little bit more difficult because if I have to talk in between, then of course, is it truly a deep work session? I don't think so. But that is something we can do, so I can take you with me. That's perfect. All right. Again, only study what's relevant to your trading plan. So that is the only thing I would do, right? Order flow, structure, whatever is relevant to my trading plan is the only thing I study. I don't study any other concept. Keep the core the same. Don't change anything. If you do decide to change something, keep track of how many things you've now changed something and the reasoning behind it. That last sentence, again, is not to encourage you or to sort of, for me to say, oh, it's fine to change something. No. It's to keep you accountable. Because when you do that and you see the true reasoning behind it, when you do change something, it's usually some futile reason that doesn't really make any sense. And then we can hold you accountable to see how many times you've now changed something and the reasoning behind it, and you keep on doing the same things, etc. That is to hold ourselves accountable. So that is very important. Again, don't change anything. There's no need to change anything. If it is truly a change because you haven't found what you're looking for just yet, but it's always important to know the underlying reason. Now, again, that's a very thin line. It's always difficult to have to convince ourselves, are we truly doing this because we want to be better? Or are we doing this because we are in a shiny object syndrome cycle? There's a very thin line between that. Now, how we can know that is, again, if it's not in our time schedule, etc., and we are trying to scalp whilst we should be swing trading, etc., then yes. Then yes, I would say, all right, go for a different approach and go to swing trading. If you don't like the entry model, so you want to try a re instead of an ST, again, that can also be done. But it's not about changing the core of our strategies, etc. That is very important to understand. So what is the core of your plan? Now, again, the core of everything that I'm teaching here is, I would say, order flow. But again, it's all tied in together. It's higher probability conditions, low probability conditions, etc. It's all these things. Now, I know some people in the mentorship that like, or that maybe don't like, maybe it's because some people find it easier to follow structure instead of order flow. If you notice that as well, then you probably like structure more than you like order flow. In that case, you will likely have more eye to detail, eye to detail, eye for detail, detail for eye. You know what I mean, for market structure in that sense. So when you have that, you might pay more attention than me to market structure. And that's nothing bad at all, as long as you do it on the right time frames, of course, etc. And there's nothing bad at all. That will be at the core of your training plan. But again, our training plans would likely be very similar still. If you like to trade higher time frame turtle soups more, still in line with order flow, etc., which is also something I acknowledge. I don't really like higher time frame turtle soups. It's not at the core of my training plan. I just like fair value gaps on its own. But if you do notice that you can very well understand where the turtle soups happen, etc., on the higher time frame, and you can then go into the lower time frame right there to go in for an entry, that could be at the core of your training plan. And then you would pay more attention to that than me because you find it easier to spot. Again, that is still within the same metrics that I'm teaching here. So you don't go into a turtle soup lecture by someone else, etc. It's still in the same things that we're teaching here. You're essentially just trading a lot of the last line of defense instead of the fair value gap, the first line of defense. So then we have execution exercise. Open a chart, pick out in hindsight a clear high time frame objective where price moved from one PD array to another PD array. Again, that is a context what we're always talking about, right? In hindsight, go into your execution time frame to see how price reacted off the PD array, study your entry pattern and how it formed, note order flow, time, news event, structure, momentum. It's all things you can note for potential case studies, all individual topics that you can also potentially study. For example, on which days do the best setups form? You can take Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday as example. What happens on those days? Is there a news event? Is there this? That is all things you can use as a deep work study topic. Use the replay tool in the entry time frame once we come into the PD array. Again, optional. I personally don't use the replay tool here and there. I first go over it in hindsight, and then I might use the replay tool, but it's again on the things I've already seen. That is important. While using the replay tool, practice how you would get involved. Note any discovery and make markups on the trades and subjects repeat. This is a constant process. This is the execution exercise. Again, great for deep work sessions. Then deep work sessions alone. Study topics relevant to your training plan. So if we go to discoveries, then here you can note discoveries. Things you discover throughout the week. Now, again, this might just be minor things, as in it's very small details, as in I noticed this week that the 4-hour order flow lags with a daily fair value gap above it didn't hold. Great. That's a discovery you just made. Again, this is not about, and that's, again, it's constantly that thin line that we need to balance on, sort of. Is that thin line of, You don't look at other concepts that other people are trying to teach you and then you make a discovery off of that. No, that is not what you want to do. If there is a discovery here that you are making, it should come out of your own studying, out of your own brain. That's the only place where it can come from. That is very important. So then if we do go back, that is for now the execution week. Again, if you have questions, write them down. They might get answered next week or the week after that in the MMP week, when we recap everything, when we have a trading plans, etc., when we go over everything that you need to know as well. Perfect. So again, just a reminder, by now we have touched on, first off, how to get to a drawn liquidity, how to get to a bias using our top-down analysis, etc. We can get an ID. All right, there's bullish, bearish arguments, high probability, low probability. We have our PD raise selected based off of that. Once we have our selected PD raise, we know, all right, we now have price agreeing, but we need time agreeing. So we are waiting for a news and a kill zone. Again, the news can be on the day itself. News doesn't need to be the main factor that we sting into the PD ray. As long as we sting into the PD ray, we are close to the PD ray, we are in the PD ray, and we have news on that day, on that kill zone that we are trying to trade. That is important. And then we look for our entry pattern. Once we have our entry pattern, we know our target based on the higher time frame as well. We know our stop loss based on order flow, etc. We know when to go break even based on order flow, etc. We know our risk management as well. So that is currently everything you need to know. And then we can get to a trading plan. And a trading plan, essentially what we're doing, we are getting very creative with the tools that we have been teaching. And mainly what you're doing in a trading plan is you are combining timeframes in a certain manner to get to a trading plan. That's what you're doing. So that is exactly what we will go over as well. And of course, very important, psychology. All right, perfect. Thank you.